Well, we've heard this for a while. A lot of people say, let's go to India, let's go to India. So we thought put something together here that would inspire people a little bit more.
So this is Michael Halfhill. Most of you have probably seen him around. He's the lead of the,
yeah.
he's the tall one. He's the leader of the local house band.
The local house band, yes.
And he's been to India a bunch of times. So, and this is Ann Davis. Let me introduce her up front. And I'm Kim Scott, and you'll see more from us later.
So thank you guys for being here. We, when we got the, what? Oh, can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear us? So we, huh? Oh, do we have to move it over here? Yeah, a little bit. All right. So when this came about a couple months ago, it got pretty excited about the whole thing. And when we started putting this together, I started going through all of my images and everything, getting real excited about sharing experiences over there and all. And what came out of it is we have way too many slides to share is what happened.
It's a big country.
It's a big country. And so we have to kind of limit how we're going to share. But one of the things that came up was we can show a lot of slides and show some interesting things, but what's most interesting is the storyline behind the slides. There's just things happen in India. It's a magical place. I always tell people it's exciting that you want to go, but you can't prepare for India. It's an experience. So what we're going to share with you is, I'll share with you is my experiences of what I've had the good fortune of experiencing over there. And I probably won't show as many slides as these guys, but I'm originally, as a professional photographer, my photography is all old school and through Kodachrome slide. And so over time, to digitize it in the modern world with my website, the images that I'm going to show you were things that I did digitize over the years. I have a lot of different things I could show, so it was hard to kind of narrow down what I want to show. So I decided to do quality over quantity on some things. So my first engagement with Dharma was in high school. I got into a lot of trouble. And when I came back my junior year in high school, they banned me from playing any more sports. And I had a friend who was in martial arts, and he said, well, why don't you come do martial arts? And that's where I got involved with meditation, Tai Chi, movement, and yoga. And at the time, it wasn't called jazzercise, but that's what we were doing. And so I continued down that path of meditating and doing yoga. And somebody gave me a tape one day and said, you want to listen to this, you might find this interesting. And I had that tape for a couple of months on my bedroom dresser and went to clear it off one day. And I thought, let's throw the tape in. And it was a tape of Ram Dass. And how many here don't know who Ram Dass is? Everybody knows who Ram Dass is. Great doorway to people in the West on Dharma. And I listened to the tape, and I had never heard a Dharma talk before, and I didn't know who he was, and I melted. And what he was sharing and talking about spirituality was I'd never heard before, and it changed my whole life. And so I became very interested in Eastern teachings at that point and reading books. And I started to get a lot of Ram Dass's books and follow him. And he's got a real famous book out called Be Here Now. I don't know if anybody's familiar with that. It was the #1 bestseller in the world at one time. Anyway, over time, he moved out to the Bay Area, and I got to sit with him for quite a few years in a lot of meditation retreats and 3-day weekends and 1-days and everything, became very close with him. So my first trip to India was a trip that he had put together. So I wanted to acknowledge, this is Ram Dass right here. Okay. Oh, which button do I hit? So Ram Dass had a stroke years ago, and this is, we've had him in Sacramento a whole lot. And this is after one of the times we had him in Sacramento, and he was in a wheelchair there in all too. And if you want to see a really good, we should do it some night here, a great documentary called Fierce Grace. Anybody seen it? It's a beautiful story about Ram Dass's whole life up to the stroke and how he recuperated from the whole thing. So Ram Dass inspired me, and me and a friend that we want to go to India, and he put this thing together for us and stuff. And so is it that right there? He had met an enlightened being over there, and his name was Neem Karoli Baba. Okay, that's his guru, Neem Karoli Baba. And when I was young, I was reading these stories, and it was kind of like Indiana Jones. I want to go meet an enlightened being. I'd ask anybody, has anybody here met an enlightened being before? You read Ram Dass's stories, and it just melts you about his experiences in India. And that's what inspired me. So when I got over to India, there was many places he wanted us to go to. And so now we're heading up into the Himalaya foothills. And it's real smoky and cloudy in India because they burn a lot of stuff with wood still, and they use cow dung. So India has a very unique smell to it. It also is all I can say. Um, oh, did I hit the right one? So this is where Ram Dass lived with his guru. It's called Kainchi, way up in the Himalaya foothills and stuff. And if anybody knows who Krishna Das is, he's somebody who really brought chanting alive in the West. He has pictures of, he met Ram Dass in the 60s right here. And you'll see pictures of Kainchi there and all. And just a couple more pictures. And if you go, when you go in, this is the walkway to go in. But before you go in, you have to wash your feet and your hands right here. And what I thought was interesting when people see this, you notice the swastika. And a lot of people don't know that swastika is an ancient Vedic symbol. It's not what Hitler turned it into. And you'll see this all over India. And it's a sign of benevolence and austerity. And you'll see it on front doors in India, everywhere. Yeah.
It faces the other way, right? The swastika faces the other way.
Actually, it's both ways. Buddhists, yeah, Buddhists will typically do this way, and Hindu, but either way works. Yeah, I've had that asked before too. So anyway, that's a couple shots of when you walk in and all too. And his guru was Neem Karoli Baba, and he actually, like a lot of these people, would go up into the Himalaya foothills during the summer months because the monsoon is really, really hot there. So they go up to cooler weather, and he has a temple up there and wanted us to go up there and spend some time. And just a couple of pictures of the sun setting as you come in through that whole thing right there. But it was very moving. So now I'm going to talk about Mother Teresa a little bit, how magical things happen in India. I tried to meet Mother Teresa on that first trip with Ram Dass, and she's a very busy woman with lots of energy. And she has 4 charities. The main one is Missionaries of Charities. I don't know if you guys have heard it or not. It's called Missionaries of Charity. And that's her big one where she talked about she serves the poorest of the poor. And if you guys don't know her story, you got to check it out. But she would go around the city and pick people that are right on the edge of death and bring them to the Missionaries of Charity and take care of them till they passed away with dignity. I mean, just incredible story who she is. I knew people that met her, and she was available if you could get a hold of her at the right time. So we tried to connect with her to Missionaries of Charity, and we missed her, and they said she's going up to, she's got 3 other ones. So we chased her around for 2 weeks and never caught up with her. A lot of energy. And so we finally had to give up. So years later, I'm back in India again, and she had passed away. And as a photographer, I wanted to honor her and get pictures of where she's entombed, which is in the Missionaries of Charity. And so one of my big nightmares as a photographer of all the many places I've traveled to and sacred places is what you hear all the time is no photos, no photos. And you'll see signs everywhere of many sacred places of not doing photos. And there's an issue out there about Westerners, called ugly Americans, where we just walk into places, ignore their sanctity, and just start pointing cameras in people's faces. And it's a bad reputation, which I don't never really wanted to be part of and everything. So we go here, and with my girlfriend and an 18-year-old boy that's friends of some family members of mine, and went with us. Neither of them had ever been to India. And within 2 days, they freaked out. It's so different. It's very overwhelming. And we'll talk about some of that in a bit. So I wanted to go try to get photographs of Mother Teresa's tomb. So we walk in, and the first thing you see is signs, no photos and all. But I've learned that if you're respectful to people in many of these sacred places, you can get a photo. They'll surrender, but it's how you approach them. And I'll typically set up my camera. It's a big professional camera, and then I'll walk around the room because I want them to see me. They know I want to take a picture, and they can always come up and say something ahead of time, like there's no photos allowed. So I get up and I walk around, and one of the nuns walks up to Paul, the 18-year-old, and he's about 20 feet away, and she says, "Excuse me, is your friend with National Geographic?" And I stop and I hear this, and I'm standing right in front of Mother Teresa's tomb, and I'm jonesing because I really want these pictures. And Paul said, I'm waiting, I think maybe Paul will tell a fat tale or something, and get me into the picture. But he says, "Oh, you should probably go talk to him." So this nun starts walking towards me, and I'm starting to freak out because I'm not sure what I'm going to say. I really want these pictures. And she's like, walks up to me, and she's like 4 foot tall. It's like 800 years old, 4 teeth. And she just looks up at me. She was so sweet. She goes, "Excuse me, namaste. Are you with National Geographic?" And my mind just started racing. I was like, and then she says, or some other publication. And I said, well, I've worked with some other organizations. And she said, great, we would love for you to take some pictures of Ma. So they let me take some pictures of her tomb. These are, as you walk into the Missionaries of Charity, you go in there, and we walked in, and that's her headstone on her in granite marble slab that she's in. So I got to walk around and take some pictures, and I was pretty much so thrilled. It was just an honor that they let me do this. And when I was done, I want to back up a second here. When I was done, I went to go sit down to put my camera away, and they said, come with us. There's another temple upstairs on the second floor. We would like to take you up there, and then the nuns are getting ready to do a service, and we want you to be part of it. So we went up to the second floor, and you walk in, and it was a small room, about a fourth the size of what we're here right now. And I walked in, and the nuns were coming in. They're going to start to sing, and there was a tucket, a footstool right here, and a statue of Mother Teresa. And they said, "You see this tucket right here? This is where Mother Teresa started her mornings every day. She did all of her prayers. She never missed a day. And we would like you to sit in her tucket." So I got to sit in Mother Teresa's tucket. I mean, I get chills when I even think about it right now. What an honor it was. And so I sat there for about an hour. She was only like 4'8". She was a really tiny woman, right? So I'm sitting on this thing with my size, mostly freaking out because the thing's kind of creaking, and I gotta sit still, and like I don't want to be the guy that crushed Mother Teresa's all over India, kill him, get the pitchforks and everything. So anyway, it was funny because my girlfriend Heather and Paul were trying to plan this trip to India, having not been there. They had a calendar and said, on Monday we're going to do this, 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 and this, and on Tuesday we're going to do this, 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 and I had to tell them, like, you're not going to do any of that stuff, because India doesn't function that way. If you don't believe in God, go to India. There has to be some higher consciousness for things to work there. Things work in some interesting sort of a way, right? And all too. So that was one of the places I wanted to try to meet Mother Teresa, and got to go there and photograph her tomb. One of the other big things I wanted to do is go to this next spot right here. Okay, this marks the final moments in the life of Mahatma Gandhi. I'm going to read something here. I did a research over the whole backstory, and this is what I'm talking about. Enriches what the images you're going to see. So it's Friday, January 30th, 1948, New Delhi, India. He left his quarters with the aid of his grandnieces Abba and Manu, who he referred to as his walking sticks, to attend the daily 5 p.m. prayer meeting. What was to become his final stroll through the garden prayer grounds, these footprints trace the final minutes in the life of Mahatma Gandhi. Moments after turning left at the end of this walkway, the Mahatma will be assassinated. Walking a few paces in the direction of the wooden platform where he sat during prayer services, the crowd opens for him to pass. Removing his arms from the shoulders of his grandnieces, he takes a moment smiling at the crowd. As he comes to touch his palms together in the traditional Hindu salutation, a stocky young man named Natram Gatsi wrestles his way to the front of the crowd, almost knocking people down in the frenzy. He bows briefly to the Mahatma as if to offer his respects, then quickly stands, plants himself firmly in front of Gandhi, and fires 3 shots at point-blank range. For a moment, the crowd is stunned and doesn't realize what has happened. The Mahatma, hands folded in friendly greetings and slowly sinking, murmurs, "Eh Ram, oh God, eh Ram," then sighs as his frail body slumps to the ground. And this is just another enlightening of where he was shot right there. Through their disbelief and horror, the crowd turns on Gatsi, while Abba and Manu desperately lift Gandhi's bloodstained body and carry him back to his room. 10 minutes later, Mahatma Gandhi is pronounced dead. The next day, January 31st, 1948, on the banks of the Yamuna River in Old Delhi, Gandhi's body is laid head to the north and feet to the south, said to be the position in which the Buddha met his end. At 4:15, the funeral pyre is lit. As flames leap into the air, the crowd of over 1 million chants Mahatma Gandhi Amar O Gai. Mahatma Gandhi has become immortal. The funeral pyre burns for 14 hours as millions pay homage to his life and death. And the black marble slab in these photographs mark the spot where Mahatma Gandhi was cremated. 27 hours after the funeral pyre is lit and the last embers grow cold, Gandhi's remains are collected and will be dispersed throughout numerous parts of India. The ash and splintered bone are scooped into a simple homespun cotton bag. A bullet is found among the ashes. The Indian government received over 3,000 messages of condolences from countries all around the world, including President Harry S. Truman, Eleanor Roosevelt, General Douglas MacArthur, Albert Einstein, King George VI, and the Vatican in Rome. A dispatch from the Vatican said, "The assassination has caused great sorrow here. Gandhi is mourned as an apostle of Christian virtues." Albert Einstein wrote, "Generations to come will scarce believe that such one ever as this, ever in flesh and blood, walked upon the face of the earth." Natharam Godse claimed full responsibility at his trial. He and co-conspirator Narayan Apte were hanged side by side on November 15, 1949. You go to these places that people are meditating, they're chanting. There's a big, powerful vibe. If you ever go to India, I would suggest going to see Mother Teresa's tomb and also where Gandhi for this. So you can take flowers. They change the setting on the marble slab pretty much every other day and stuff. And you can take flowers and put them up there and say a little prayer. It was very, very moving and all. And they also have a museum where you can go in and see the stories of his life, Gandhi Smriti. And one of the things that I thought was really weird, they have the gun there that Natharam Godse used to shoot Gandhi with on display. It was kind of eerie to see that. How am I doing time-wise?
You got like a few more minutes.
Couple minutes, okay. Okay, does anybody know what this is? This is the Mahabodhi temple. And the tree to the left is the Bodhi tree under which the Buddha attained enlightenment. This was very moving to see, to go there. I've been there quite a few times. I was doing some craft work and stuff for postcards. So you can circumambulate, and these grounds are very big. One of the things that was really surprising about going to it's in the state of Bodhgaya in India, is when I got there, I thought I'm going to, part of this really profound thing happened. And the first thing you see is lepers. And there's two places in the world where leprosy still exists. And I was pretty surprised. Bodhgaya is one of them. And a place in Africa is another place. So you see a lot of lepers every time I've been there, just hoping for compassion and alms and stuff, just surrounding on the outside of the temple. And you have to kind of walk through them. You can't ignore them because they're there. And they're very friendly. And some of them I befriended and saw every day and gave them money and brought food to them and everything too. It's something, it's kind of hard to see. Anybody seen the movie Slumdog Millionaire? It's like that. You'll see elephantitis. You'll see children with their limbs cut off and put out as beggars, eyes poked out. It's just like in that movie. It's really you got, like I said, you got to experience it. You can't just explain India. So you'll see a lot of different statues of the Buddha, very ornate all the way around. And I think, Anne, you have pictures, somebody has pictures of them doing prostrations. So you'll see typically there's a lot of Tibetan monks there. They kind of take over these grounds and they have their wooden boards and they do thousands of prostrations every day. And you can, what I did a lot of time is went in with them and chanted with them and stuff and learned some chanting techniques with a lot of these monks, which was part of my journey with them. It is said that there are 3 statues in the world that depict what Buddha looked like. 2 of them are in Tibet and the 3rd one is right here. So when he was young, they say this is what the Buddha actually looked like. Right there. And there's yours truly, a young man under the Bodhi tree with Manny, Mo, and Jack, my friends. So you can go in, matter of fact, they lock it up, but you can go in. Most of the days it's open, like 18 hours a day, and you can go in and sit under the Bodhi tree and meditate, and you can circumambulate. There's several ways to circumambulate the whole thing, and you just have free reign of the whole thing right there. So I think they have prayer wheels, and you can get leaves. You can get leaves from the Bodhi tree as gifts you can give to people, the sacred alms, which is pretty cool, and lots of beautiful artwork. This is about a 10-foot high wall of painting and all. And they have a lake there where you can just walk around and circumambulate it with some of flowers and lotus petals. And I'm going to leave it right there. I think we'll stop right there. And we'll come back. By the way, we know there's a lot of information. We're willing to stick around after we talk for Q&A. If anybody wants to go a little bit deeper, I think it would be fun. So just if you have questions along the way, feel free to ask them, but we want to try to stay focused on some of this.
Let's see here. Dylan's not here. Oh, so we're on his file and we need to go out.
Okay.
Of
Did anybody have
his.
questions while they're, any comments or questions about anything you saw?
So we just need to get off of his list.
We want to go to this.
Oh, there we go. Great, thank you.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Great, okay. Ah, that was wonderful. I was told by everyone I knew who had been to India that I should go there, that it would change my life. Thought about it for a long time and I finally made it this year. And I think my trip came at a time that expanded me in a way that it might not have done if I had gone when I was a lot younger. The theme of this little part of the presentation is interconnectedness and presence, because I sure felt that a lot in India. For me, traveling, you're letting go of the routines you're normally in, and you are in a new way of being, and you're seeing everything with new eyes for the first time. And it's just exciting and enlivening, and you're so present because nothing's normal. Everything's different. So I was thinking about it. Kim and Mike had been there a while back. I was just there in February. And the world we live in today is so very different than even 25 years ago. I mean, with technology, there are very few unknown exotic places left. I mean, you've seen them in movies and newscasts and documentaries, in pictures, and read books about them and heard people talking about them. So I wasn't shocked at the things I saw. I wasn't completely in a world that was unexpected to me, but I feel like I experienced a deeper knowing about civilizations and our global connection to everything by having gone to this country that I didn't know much about. And the guide that I had said that the motto for India is PTF, which stands for patience, tolerance, and faith. And believe me, you go out and you try to go somewhere. You're in a van. We were in a van. You have to have patience because the traffic in the cities is unbelievable. You have to be tolerant of all the other cars and bikes and two guards and cows and everything that might be in the street. And you have to have the faith that you are going to get to where you're going because traffic. So you get a hit of PTF right away. First time you try to go somewhere. I was in the north of India. We started in Delhi. And so we'll start there. India is a country of 1.4 billion people, largest population on earth. And I went expecting mostly a Hindu culture. Well, in the north, I found out it's also very Muslim, that the Muslim invaders came through India in the 13th century, and there's still very much a presence there, especially with the architecture. Many did not go to Pakistan when the country was partitioned in 1947. I think Gandhi sort of had an idea that the Muslims would go to Pakistan, the Indians would stay in India, but a lot of them stayed in India. Also, there's a large Sikh population, and I'm saying it as Sikh because I went to the city council meeting Tuesday night, and the Sikhs, I used to say Sikh, but the Sikhs were there and they pronounced it Sikh. This is in New Delhi. This is the Bangla Sahib Sikh temple, and we got to visit it. It's really beautiful. You start in a room, you remove your shoes and socks, you put a headscarf on, and the motto on the wall says, "Leave your ego at the door." Then you can explore the beautiful outside courtyard, which is all marble and reflecting pools. And you're walking barefoot. It's a little bit slippery. It was a drizzly, wet day that day. And then you can go into the temple, which has a very special book on an altar in there, and it's enshrined, and there's a priest chanting and praying, and you can circumambulate around the temple and do your praying or offer your respects. And then we went into the community kitchen where we got to help serve upwards of 30,000 people a day that are served there, and by volunteers. And this kind of philanthropy goes far back in the history of the Sikh religion, the underlying principle being that everyone who comes here, regardless of religion, social caste, gender, or other socioeconomic factors, is welcomed and provided a meal. So this is a huge vat of dal, which is lentil stew. Pictures of women and volunteers making the roti bread, probably enjoying each other's company while they do it. It wasn't a quiet place. You could chat and talk. And then this is the room where people are being fed the meals. And I got to carry, you go up to those windows you see there and you get a bucket. I got a bucket of rice with a big spoon. And I walked up and down the aisles and scooped out the rice and put it in their bowls. And it was hard because the rice was sticky and the spoon wasn't real sharp. So after a while, I was getting tired. And another volunteer noticed that and traded me for the bucket of spoons. So now I got to pass out spoons, and he took over with the rice. And then after we did this volunteer work, we could sit down and eat with them. And that was really special. I was also, like Mike, very taken with the Gandhi Museum. It was within walking distance of my hotel. Believe me, you couldn't walk the 2 blocks from the hotel to the Gandhi Museum without getting intercepted by somebody wanting to know who you were, where you were from, what your name was, how you liked India. It wasn't about asking for anything. It was about people wanting to get to know who this foreign person was. And the Gandhi Museum was so moving. I spent a lot of time there reading everything about his life, and people come and put the marigolds around his shrines. This is the room where he spent his last weeks. I think he was finishing up a fast and had come back to Delhi in order to do some political work about how they were going to continue the country. And this was a closer place than where he would have been staying. So this was his room in New Delhi. And that's just a cool cardboard cutout of Gandhi in his garden. Leaving Delhi, our guide told us about the changes happening right now as India is experiencing an economic boom. The country is changing from an agricultural to an urban-based society. And as you leave the cities, you can see the Google skyscrapers and the call center skyscrapers and gobbling up the farmland. 30 years ago, India was 80% agricultural. Now it's 50-50. And as in most developing countries, the infrastructure is not ready for it. A very sweet example of how the old ways are coexisting with the new is in the city of Jaipur, where we visited a cow shelter. The white Brahmin cattle used to roam all over the cities. People had them in their yards and they would just let them go, and the cattle would roam around and they knew where to go home. But because the cities have become so much bigger and the traffic's so bad and so much more congested, they've now created cow shelters. And to the Indian people, these cattle are holy, not because of a religious reason, but because they produce the best milk, the best ghee, the best curd. They think it's the best. They love it. And so these cows are very holy to them. And in the cow shelter here, as you can see, there is a temple, a Hindu temple. There's a woman reading out of a book and a man lighting incense, picture of a cow on the poster there. And then the cows are all lined up in these sort of pens. I had a video of this, which I can't show you because it doesn't work on this technology, but you pay a few rupees at the counter and they give you a grocery cart, and you fill this grocery cart with greens, mustard greens probably that they've harvested. And then you just walk along the rows and you feed the cows the greens. And it's this, there's me just finished just finished up my grocery cart full of greens. And then they have a big field where the cows go out, I guess, sometimes in the afternoons or whatever. But our guide told us that the people were so moved that a group of Westerners would want to come in and do this. And believe me, to get there, we had to brave crossing a street. So it was pretty scary. Well, they used to be free roaming cows. Now they're put in the cow shelter. I did see a few free roaming cows though, as we were in the cities. The cow shelters are volunteer staffed. So the next destination is Agra. And before we get to the Taj Mahal, I want to show you this picture outside my hotel room window, because this is what a lot of India looks like. It's typical of so many developing countries in transition. There's unfinished buildings, there's vacant lots, there's crumbling sidewalks. And I thought to myself, are we okay?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just.
it's just a battery.
Okay.
Well, the system is off, but I can't get the,
Don't be freaked out. It's just like a battery. Some places needs to be changed.
but I got more. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'll just go on. I just thought to myself, as I was traveling all through India, I thought, what would it take? What the governance it would take to get this place looking good in so many of the places is just, if I were a politician, where would I even begin? I mean, there's so much of it that is just needs work. But I wanted to show you the Taj, of course. Absolutely the most beautiful building I ever saw. Perfectly symmetrical, white marble inlaid with precious stones. It looks like a mirage floating in the air. It's exquisite. And lucky for us, the Thai princess that was going to visit that morning, and for whom they would have closed the Taj Mahal to visitors, canceled. Our guide found out about the cancellation and we got to go, but a lot of other people thought it was closed. So we got to be at the Taj when it wasn't mobbed with tourists. Didn't have to wait in any lines or anything. I wanted to show you some pictures of the variations you come across in India. So this next section is just a little bit of serendipity. Before democracy, India was ruled by a monarchy, and there are Rajas still around with a lot of money and palaces all over the place. And this is a hotel we stayed in that an ex-Raj had built, mimicking the architecture of his palace. It had 6 courtyards with elephant statues, birds, fountains, and is a primo wedding venue for the rich.
Where
This-
was this?
This was in Ranthambore, Rajasthan.
Mhm.
And this is a picture of it at night. This is also, we left the next day, got in a Jeep and went to a tiger. We went to the national park, the Ranthambore National Park, where the Royal Bengal tigers, there's 64 of them in that park. Actually, there's 73, which is that many more than there need to be. It can really only hold 63. We saw a tiger from here to the back door of this Gompa. A majestic, huge, beautiful tiger walked by for like 5 minutes. That is so rare. And I knew that morning at breakfast, I told everybody, we are going to see a tiger. I just felt like it because I had meditated on it. I thought, I want to see a tiger. Very rare sighting. It went down into the lake and swam across the lake all the way up to the other side and climbed up. It's amazing. Oh, and here are some beautiful women who are getting married. One of them is the one you can't see is getting married. And this is the food markets were just so wonderful. The vegetables were so beautiful. The flower market was so colorful and lovely. Picture of a woman carrying her huge load. This is a family of, this is a group of villagers. We visited a little village, and these people were so nice. They could say, hello, my name is so-and-so. Thank you for coming to see me. That was like the extent of their English. But we broke into small groups, and they showed us around their village, and they made us the best lunch out of that place with, hardly any infrastructure. It was beautiful. This is a water buffalo in somebody's front yard, and the dung patties that are lined up that they use for fuel. They just pat them out, bare hands, pat out the water buffalo dung, put it up there to dry. And then this is an old, in part of India called Uttar Pradesh, which is the same province that the Taj Mahal is in. People fix up these old trucks. They use irrigation pumps as motors. They get whatever they can to make them run. They're only allowed to be used in a certain area because they're not legal. But here's what they turn into. These colorful, just gorgeous works of art.
So do they transport people?
Yeah, they transport all kinds of things. And we stayed in a tent camp in the countryside one night in order to break up the long drive between Agra and Lucknow. The Indians use mustard oil for cooking. I didn't know that. And the mustard harvest had been a good one this year. So these farmers from a nearby village wanted to celebrate for us by showing us a traditional harvest dance. Unfortunately, I can't show you the video of that dance, but they all danced, and their movements are they're really cool movements. And then, whoops, missing a picture here. Okay, well, we'll skip it. We also went to, maybe it'll come up later, but we also went to a classical dance studio, which younger people are flocking to, I guess, to learn the classic dances of India. And using rhythmic footwork and facial expression and hand gestures, they just tell these stories that it's mesmerizing, really. Oh, all right. Maybe sometime you can do it for us.
And then check the Vidadi, because they have a truth that comes from India.
Okay.
Vidadi days.
It's called Kathak.
Yeah.
Kathak. Yeah. And we're now coming into Varanasi. This is the oldest city in India, the spiritual heart of the Ganges. This is a picture of a Jeep, and you see on top of it, that's a body wrapped in a saffron shroud being taken to the Ganges to be cremated. Hindus consider Varanasi one of the holiest places in the world. And as such, it draws millions of visitors each year looking to wash away their sins and cremate loved ones in this sacred river. Cremation in particular is a very common practice here because Hindus believe that spreading their ashes in the holy waters of the Ganges will end their cycle of reincarnation, gifting them with their final death. Benares is an older name for Varanasi, and I think Kashi was a name before that. This is walking in the evening down to the Ganges. These men were building this boat right there on the banks of the Ganges. I thought it was so amazing because you can just see everything they need to do it right there. Okay, we climbed into a boat and we went along the bathing ghats. Ghats are staircases down to the river. And there's so many of them. So the boat went along the bathing ghats until we got to the cremation ghats. And although my guidebook said pictures weren't permitted, the local guide that was with us in our boat was a Brahmin priest, and he did not say not to take pictures. So I did take a few pictures of the cremation ghats. And it's truly a bizarre experience because, as you can see, there are people, there are animals, there are more than one fire going on. There's more than one cremation going on at a time. You can see the wood stacked up that's used. It's smoky, it's noisy, and it just goes on all day long and all night. Our guide told us you don't even need to make an appointment. You just can bring your body and wait in line till there's your turn. And then every single night on the Ganges, they do a sunset prayer ceremony every night. So they set up a stage. The sound is amplified. There's like 5 or 6 priests that do the ceremony, and it feels holy, and it also feels festive, like, we're having a party. And then we went back in the morning to experience the morning ablutions on the Ganges. This is a man with his huge chai pot making chai. I've heard because now that the Strait of Hormuz is closed, they're having a hard time getting enough propane to India. So the prices of chai have gone up. Yeah. These are people. This is the sun rising now on Mother Ganga. More shots of people in the morning. You see everything. You see people getting married. You see people getting their hair cut. You see people selling bangles, sadhis with the ashes all over on their body doing yoga, people selling bangles and mustard oil, eating, praying, bathing. It's just an amazing spectrum of human activity. It was the coolest thing to see. So, last picture of Varanasi. And now we're moving to the last part of my talk. It's a visit to the ancient Buddhist Learning Center. Can I make this bigger? This sign says, "This is the remnant of a huge temple, which probably represents the spot where Lord Buddha used to sit in meditation according to Hin Song. And so they're excavating this site. Uh-oh.
I need to bring this back down. Oops, welcome to TV.
They're excavating.
The TV break.
Darn. How do we get rid of that?
Quit TV.
Oh,
Whoops.
Oopsie.
back to Ann's.
Back.
Get back to Ann's. Dylan's here.
It's right here.
Yeah,
Thank
can we
you.
get it back to small so I can transfer to the next one? Let's just tap the next one and see if it goes right. See, it won't move. Now maybe it will.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you. This site, which was unearthed during the British archaeological explorations in 1836, is being excavated. The Buddhist legends credit Ashoka with establishing a large number of stupas in India, one of which we see here. This sort of big fat round building. And Buddhist pilgrims circumambulate around that, chanting with their prayer beads. It was very peaceful and holy. And I will end this talk with the most beautiful sculpture of the Buddha. Well, this is the Ashoka lion's emblem, the national emblem of India, in the museum at
It's on
Sarnath.
the flag.
And this is the most beautiful sculpture of a Buddha that's housed in the Sarnath Museum. And I had to add in this amazing statue of Tara, which was in a museum in Nepal. It's just incredible. And then flying back to India, the majestic Himalayas in the background. So I came back knowing that I had had the trip of a lifetime, and people are kind and good everywhere, and that we really, 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 really need to take care of this planet that we call home. Namaste.
Thank you. Okay. So my images are all older. I spent altogether on the different trips I took. The first time I went was in 89, and the last time I went was in 95. I spent almost 2 years there over that course of time. And these were all slides that I just scanned. So they are like the weirdest looking color combinations you can imagine from these old slides. But the first part of my talk is about pilgrimage. When I first went to India, I was not a Buddhist. I was actually doing Hindu practices. And so as part of like a real spiritual quest. And I always wanted to go to India, but it scared the heck out of me. And I met somebody in the States that had been there 14 times or something when I met him. And he says, well, here's how you get there. You just buy a ticket and you get on the plane. That's how you get there, so just leave the rest of it behind. And so it's like, oh, I never heard that before, And so I said, okay, so I'm planning my trip, and I made a list of all the stuff I wanted to do when I was there. And it was all, I'm an artist, so it was all related to that. Mostly it was like, I want to make art. I want to set up a studio. I want to visit artists there. I want to have a show there. I want to do lectures. It's like this big list. And I wanted to meet this guy named M.F. Hussain, who was kind of like the Pablo Picasso of India. He was the most famous artist at that time in India. And so this friend of mine said, well, I do have the name of these 2 women artists. Why don't you let them know you're coming? And so I wrote them and I says, yeah, I want to have a studio. It's like I just named my list off to these 2 women. And I want to meet M.F. Hussain. And a week later, MF Hussein's son called me, who he was also an artist, and he said, why don't you come and live with our family? So it was like the open, it's that thing, it's the magic place. India is really, stuff like that happened constantly. Honestly, I became so aware of that, the magic of existence, essentially, while I was in India, and it's followed me back here, just knowing, so I'm always looking around every corner because I know there's something crazy, amazing going on. This was in Varanasi also, and I kind of went Indian to some degree while I was there and wore saris and things like that. And it really brought the people out of the woodwork. They felt like I was honoring their culture, I guess, with that. Let's see, thank you. Look familiar? So this is the stupa at Sarnath. This is actually was put here. It's supposedly has Buddhist remains of Buddha's body entombed in it, along with a bunch of other stuff, jewels and things. And it's to commemorate his first public teaching. This area is called Deer Park, and there's like 4 major teachings, and Deer Park was the first one that he did after enlightenment. So that. I also, so that was like one of my pilgrimages. Is before I was a Buddhist, I went and saw that. And then the following year, I found out that the Dalai Lama was having spring teachings, and I thought, I'd be crazy if I didn't go do that. It would be like meeting Gandhi or something like that, right? So I thought, okay, I'm going. So I went up there, and immediately I realized that was actually my direction. My path was that. That was the door that opened the path right there. This is a Namgyal monastery during a teaching where His Holiness that's his monastery. And so you can kind of get a feeling for what it looks like with everybody lined up to take the teachings. There he is, the grand old man. I also went to Bodhgaya, which the Mahabodhi temple is at, but I went there during a ceremony called the Mon Lam, and it's where they light 1 million butter lamps at Mon Lam. So you could do these circumambulations. You can see people doing it. It's mostly Tibetan monks, but there are monks from all over that show up for this. And there's lots of temples there and statues. This is the thing that Michael was talking about. It's like all these monks doing prostrations, and they just have all these boards so they don't wear their hands off, essentially. And they use like these mitts that are fabric mitts to so they can really slide, get them down. And these guys really build a specific physique from doing all these you could see it in the Dalai Lama, especially when he was younger too. There's they got some guns going on from doing that 1 million times, So you can see some of the butter lamps at night. It's really cool because everything's lit up, and you can smell the smell of burning butter. I also went to Sikkim for a pilgrimage. That was, it's a protectorate. It was a mountain kingdom that is currently a protectorate of India. And the Dalai Lama was doing a Kalachakra there. So I was hanging out with a bunch of monks from all over the world, and some lay people as well. And at one point, our group, the Dalai Lama asked our group to accompany this monk that had just come out of a 12-year retreat to take him to this. So we had this guy traveling with us, and it's like the whole time he's like this. It's like he hadn't been outside for 12 years, And so that was pretty cool. And so we got kind of some lubrication to get our paperwork done, probably from the Dalai Lama's office or something. And so we got visas into Sikkim because it was a protectorate. Nobody was really you couldn't get into Sikkim just as a tourist at that time. And so we crossed over the border. On the way there, we were held at gunpoint. We're in a riot on the edge of a cliff, and we were in an earthquake. And they say that when you're going to these rare teachings, that all kinds of shit gets in your way, comes down. It did for sure. And so we got to the border, and when we crossed, I signed into there was like a big old school ledger sort of looking thing, and I signed in, and I was like the 10th person to have entered at that border from the West since the 70s. So it was just like, it was really auspicious. It's like that thing that happens when you're just kind of in that groove and you can't rush it. You can't plan on it. You just have to go along like you're in the greatest movie ever, and it will reveal itself to you. So this was the view out of our hotel room. We paid 11 cents a night for the beds in our hotel room. And there was in Sikkim, Gangtok, Sikkim.
When?
Oh, when this was in 92. So they made this temporary building. It's like a tent, sort of. They just rushed in and they built this building. And this is in a sports stadium on the side of a cliff. You can kind of see how it just like drops off over the back of here and then goes down to this very steep valley and then up into this is in the Himalayas on the other side of this. And this gives you an idea of how many people were there as well. The Dalai Lama told people they could use their umbrellas because it was burning hot out. He also shamed the monks for not shaving their heads, and they all came back the next day shiny. It's great. This is what it looked like when the lights went on at night. And believe me, there was just some amazing energy around this thing. You could just see, I could really see like protectors made out of light standing on the roof. And I mean, it was like really amazing experience. Also during this thing, there's a tradition, like all these people walked over the Himalayas to come to this because it was closer to them than usually these things are. And they were wearing their best village outfits. So there was all this amazing clothes and big chunks of jewelry and, turquoise and all the handmade stuff. It was really amazing from these, and they looked different from every village and country that they came from. And what they did was there was a point after these teachings where people were invited to come and do offerings, and the traditional offering actually for the Dalai Lama, as well as just for this event, was dance. And so all these people came in their best clothes and offered local dances, which was like, wow, where am I? This is so cool. This is out of India, but I also went to Nepal and visited caves. This was a cave that Padmasambhava Baba had meditated in, and I had the opportunity to go and meditate in the cave along with some other people. I've been there a couple times since then. And there's the Swayambhunath, which is also known as the Monkey Temple. And Swayambhunath is supposedly arose spontaneously on its own. And it's from about the 5th century, but that's the story that stuck with it. Also known as the Monkey Temple. And it's considered one of the it's like the 2nd largest stupa in the Buddhist world. Now maybe it's not, maybe it's a 3rd now. And this is Bodhanath. And Bodhanath was this one also contains artifacts of the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. So the second part has to do with my getting to India. This is the guy who invited me to come and live with his family. His name was Shamshad Hussain. And when he met me at the airport, he said, "Tell everybody that I know you." It's like he had told everybody that I was his friend, and that's why they let me come and stay with them. And he just did it because, magic, I guess. Mm-hmm. And this is one of the women that I wrote. Her name is Arpana Kaur, and she's one of the most famous artists in India right now. So I visited studios, right? And I'm moving towards the arts aspect of this trip. And these are like craftspeople doing all these amazing cultural things and stuff. This was in Bodhgaya also during the Monlam. There was Lama dancing going on, which was it was very humorous and fun. This is a round dancing with the Tibetans, and they just would meet in the town square and the bus stop, and they would pull together everybody and do these big communal round dancings. And it was just amazing how similar that some of the clothes and the features and stuff looked to Native Americans. I also went to Ajanta and Ellora, which is an ancient community that was religious community that was carved out of living stone. So the entire place is carved out of living stone. And there are also frescoes on some of the walls. And this is a couple thousand years old. It's very old. Some of them are as old as that. And this shows you a little bit about the clothes they wore. This one, and you can see there's an elephant on its side. So it's a story about Buddha's birth, probably, or a Jataka tale illustration. And this one, not so much, but some of them you can really see the clothes they're wearing are like the clothes you see in the Thangka paintings. It's like the scarves and the jewelry and the fancy hair and stuff and the crowns and all of that. This was a group that were a nomadic group of storytellers that came through Dharamsala at one point, and they told, so it was oral tradition, continuing oral tradition. And there was, so they were telling stories and they were using different Thangka paintings that were made specifically, and they would use their little stick there and point where they were in the story on the picture. This is a painting set up for a Thangka painter that I visited while I was traveling around. Here he is working, using his hand as his easel or his palette. This is somebody who's setting up a fire puja, and they do something that's similar tradition to the sand painting, but this is all done out of herbal, like barley and turmeric and things like that. So they put together these mandalas, and then it goes up in smoke with the fire puja. This guy his name is Kalsang Dorji. And according to him, he was the last person that was continuing this particular tradition of making Lama dancing masks out of unfired clay. It was made with like rice hulls or something like that and clay. And he was just trying to find apprentices to keep it going. But I mean, this was 30 years ago. He was in his 70s here. So who knows, right? He also did clay Buddha statues, which is really rare to find. Occasionally, if you see one, he probably did it unless it was really old. I also went to a workshop that made the repoussé hammered copper statues like you see in the temple here. This was one that was in progress. It was over life size. This is a Guya Samaja. It's a close-up of the faces on it. So eventually this would be gilded. When it was finished, and they would set gems into the crowns and add details like that. Paint the faces. This was at Ellora. I just put this one in here because of sculpturing. This is all made out of one piece of rock. And I love the dakini that's flying up in the top of that arch. Is pretty cool. Butter sculptures. I'm hoping to learn how to do this myself so I can teach it here. There's a lot to it though. So I'm working on it. Beautiful things. And the very last part has to do with setting up studio. So this just shows what work I made while I was in, some of the work that I made when I was in India. And this was a studio painting by candlelight. This is up in the mountains. This is a piece I did before I became a Buddhist, and it's called Gold Spot, which is an orange flavored drink. These are Indian miniature style. So these pieces are about the size of a postcard. They're like 4 by 6 or 3.5 by 5.5. This is a piece I saw. It was a Thangka painting that I thought was really unusual, that had the hands and the feet that were like, it was like testimony that it's a true story, essentially. That somebody said, yes, this really happened. This is from Trisong, the King Trisong. And this is a piece I did when I came home that was, showing the influence of what I'd been looking at with the lotuses and the palm prints. So these are all done when after I became a Buddha, right? I wish, Buddhist, and someday. And so these were all influenced by that. What I was hearing, what I was seeing. These are all tiny pieces. Maybe they were gouache on paper, most of them with some colored pencils. So I was using some similarity to the materials used in miniature painting, Indian miniature painting. This one is actually tempera, where I started adding egg yolk to the tempera. and gold leaf as well. Little. The last two pieces in my presentation, they're also egg tempera, and these were exploring some of the hell realm stories, and this was a cold hell where all the plants are like made out of razor blades, essentially, or blades. And when you walk through the forest and you get shredded. So it's like, okay, I'm going to go there. And this one is a hot hell where there are these iron buildings that are filled with fire, and you're in the building and they're on the sides of these mountains that occasionally like crash together like this. So you're not only burning in a metal building that you can't leave, but it's like, this is going on too. It's like, it's like, if you want to have this hell scared out of you, just read some of those stories. So that's my story, just briefly in a nutshell, about the amazing influence of India and the place that it's been there forever. You walk around a corner and you think, that guy that's standing there right now selling yogurt, he could have been sitting there, you know, like 600 years ago, easily just wearing the same thing and doing the same thing. It really gives, I don't know about now, but I think when we were there, and we were not there at the very heyday. There was already had been like the Beatles and all of that stuff, and brought a lot of Westerners there. And also like the ganja, you know, the drug tours and all that stuff. So there were a lot of Westerners there when we were there. But it was still, you could still go around a corner and see something that remained the same for forever, you know. So we have a little bit of time for questions. Thank you very much for showing up.
Could you talk about the language barrier a little bit when you're traveling? And do you need to travel with a guide in order to deal with, you do need to have somebody to translate for you constantly, or how does that work?
Everybody wants to speak English. If you want to speak Hindi, it's extremely difficult to get anybody to do it with you. So it was really the other way around. I just learned how to I learned how to read menus and say thank you and be polite and get the hell out of here, and a few other things you might need at any particular time. I never had a guide. I knew local people sometimes would steer me in. When I first got there, the Shamshad picked me up, and him and his brother took me to the night market, the Islamic night market, and bought me tea and stuff. And it was just like, wow, what a way to start the, you know, the trip. So
For India, thank goodness the British Empire was there. So
Yeah.
if it had, I wonder what India would be like today. They speak about 30 different dialects within a 20-mile radius. Very ancient languages. Does anybody know what language the Buddha spoke? No. It's called Magadha Prakrit. It's very similar to that, but most people think he was talking in Sanskrit, but it's called Magadha Prakrit. So there's many languages, but thank goodness the British Empire was there. And on that note, on the burning ghats, where they cremate stuff, if you don't, when the male died, the woman was expected to sit on the fire and burn up alive in their tradition, and they finally ended that in the 70s.
Thank God.
yeah.
That's messed up.
It was called sati.
Yeah, sati.
Sati. I mean, it's
Yeah.
very ancient stuff. Yeah, very.
Also, English is the language of business. Maybe not anymore. I don't know. But at that time, English was the language of business. And there are a lot of English speaking grade schools and stuff that people went to if you could afford to. And so a lot of people learned to speak English so they could do business.
And the signposts in Delhi, the very first day I was there, the signpost had 4 languages on it. It was Hindi, Urdu, Sanskrit, and English. But most people did speak English.
Anybody else still want to go to India?
Some of the information.
Road trip.
Road trip. All right.
The flight
Oh,
for me
geez.
was 20 hours and 35 minutes, nonstop,
No.
So
from San Francisco to Delhi with a stop in somewhere in Europe,
Like Frankfurt.
To refuel
Mhm.
for about 2 hours.
So did you get out of the plane?
No, no, you
So-
didn't get out of the plane. You just-
So funny, so on my first trip there, I didn't realize how long the flight was gonna be. It was like 24 hours. And Ram Dass wanted us to start going up into the foothills, right? And to this one temple. And so we got there in Delhi, got on a bus for 18 hours to go up there. And then to get to this temple, we had got on horses and we did like
Wow.
the 6-hour horse ride. And of course I got saddle sore. And then we had to walk like a couple of miles up to the temple, right? I was wiped out, right? But what kept me going was this like Indiana Jones. This is so cool.
Right.
Yeah, man, I can't believe I'm doing this, right? And the funniest part of the whole thing is I start getting closer. You have walk this final trail and you're winding up this mountain, and I start hearing music. So I get around the corner and there's like a half a dozen college students that had a boombox out there, right? And they're listening to Michael Jackson.
No.
And they're out there trying to do the dance, the walk, and they look at us. It was my friend Dave, and it was just the two of us, right? And they look at us and they go, "Oh, well, you're from America?" And I go, "Yeah." "Do you know Michael Jackson?" And I said, "Well, I know of Michael Jackson," and they took that as I know Michael Jackson personally, and they wouldn't stop. You know, like, "No, I don't know him." And then they put a Madonna tape in and wanted to know if I knew Madonna. So that was my introduction, my first trip. It was like, wow. You know, the India's full of surprises, you know, just show up. Like I said, just show up and it'll take care of you.
I saw a Michael Jackson impersonator show in
It-
Delhi.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty good, actually.
They're very creative people. Very
Yeah.
creative culture.
It's pretty amazing. I had a taxi ride with somebody. This is just like a little weirdo story, but it gives you an idea. This kind of thing went on all the time. I'm sitting in the car, you know, in the taxi, and he goes, "Oh, where are you from? You know, what are you doing here? How do you like your story?" Or how do you like our country? And I said, "Well, it's just amazing, all the amazing things that happen here. It's like these people that are, it's like, there's so much like magical, you know, magicians and stuff." And he goes, "Oh, I can do one thing." And it's like, "What's that?" And he goes, "Oh, it's really nothing." He says, "I can tell people what their mother's name is." I go, "Really? What's my mother's name?" And he told me my mother's name.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. This taxi driver.
Yeah, I'm saying
It's a little city.
we need to put together a Lions War road trip to India. What do you say?
Hey, you know, there's
Yeah.
one of the interesting things I went to. They have the largest gathering of people in the world there. It's called the Kumbh Mela. And they have it every 3 years. I don't know if you've heard of this. It's where all the spiritual teaching people come
Oh.
together, right? And it's 4 different towns over the different sacred rivers. So it moves to a different town.
Wow.
Every 3 years it moves to the next one. Every 12th rotation of 12 years or every 144 years is called the Mahakumbh Mela.
Oh.
And each
That's
Kumbh
funny.
Mela, the smaller ones, have 15 million people show up at these things. And it goes on for like weeks, right? The Mahakumbh Mela that I went to the smaller one. The Maha one had about 70 million people. NASA actually filmed it in
Oh.
space. There were so many people on the Saraswati where this was at. I don't have pictures of it to show you, but it was so
Yeah.
overwhelming that you couldn't even go. So we were staying in the town way away, and we thought we would take the train, but the train would stop every 5 minutes to pick up. And it's like in the movies where you see like 3,000 people on
Like walking on
outside
the
of the
backs of
train.
the chairs,
So
walking
we
across the
thought we'd
ground.
hire a driver, right? And that was scary. But they say you can drive your own car, but they say in order to drive in India, you need 3 things: good tires, good brakes, and good luck.
And the belief in immortality.
And-
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, the guy MF Hussein, whose family I stayed with, he was known. Somebody asked him what his favorite city was, and he said he liked to be in the poor district of Bombay. Well, it was Bombay at the time. And it was just crowded shoulder to shoulder there. And people are like, "Why would you want to do that?" He says, "I hate being any place where there aren't people that are like packed together." So I always want to escape that. But he made a point of going places where people were packed together. He'd probably been there a time or two. Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.